Hi triathletes, welcome back to another session with TriathlontesSA. Today we're going to look at how you can make your training even better by incorporating certain strategies to see yourself becoming a stronger and faster triathlete. So the first question I want to ask is, how do you know if you have recovered adequately from the previous training session that you had yesterday? There are a couple of things that people currently use. Some people track their resting heart rate, other people look at Training Peaks Training Stress Score or TSS score, and other people use subjective measures such as fatigue, sleep, as well as muscle soreness. HRV is a far more accurate measure on your body and your mind, and also a clear indication of how ready you are for that next training session, as your body needs to cope with the training as well as life stresses. So stay tuned as we dig a little bit deeper into HRV or heart rate variability. So let's first start off. What is HRV and how can it be measured? HRV was originally used in the space program and later also used by elite track athletes. But now it's convenient and accurate for anyone with a smartphone. HRV is measured as the time gap between each heartbeat, and it also varies as you breathe in and out. So say for example, you have a heartbeat of 60 beats per minute. That only tells you that your heart is beating 60 beats per minute. But your heart actually beats irregularly, and you actually want your heart to beat irregularly because that tells you that you are ready for that next training session. In plain terms, irregular means that your heart beats whenever it needs to beat. But when you do a hard training session and you place a lot of stress on your body, your heart rate will get stressed and then it will default into regular beating. Now let's look at how you can record your HRV readings. For that, you'll need a smartphone and download a heart rate variability app. For today's purposes, we'll be using Elite HRV that you can download from your Play Store. Once you've downloaded the app, you'll need something to measure the reading with. Now you can either use the CoreSense finger sensor that's used to measure your HRV with your finger, or you can use a compatible HR strap. Not all HR straps will work with HRV readings, as it takes a different measurement than just your heartbeat. So known HR straps that works with Elite HRV would be the Wahoo, as well as the Polar H10. And then also some Garmin HR straps would also work on the Elite HRV. Then some important things to note when you take your HRV readings. The first thing is that you need to take your HRV reading at the same time of day every day and also in the same position. So the best way to do this is by taking your HRV reading first thing in the morning when you wake up and when you are lying down. There's also a couple of things that might influence your HRV readings. The first one being your breathing. So if you do not breathe normally and you have elevated breathing or take deep breaths, that will see you have a higher HRV number. So when you take your HRV readings, just breathe normally. And then the second thing that can also influence your HRV, this one is specifically aimed at women, is your menstrual cycle. So when you have your menstrual cycle, your HRV readings will be influenced by that, but over time you'll pick up on them and then you'll just adjust your readings accordingly. And then lastly, most HRV apps will use between 1 minute and 2 minutes to take your HRV reading every day. So 1 minute or 2 minutes of your time every day is not that much to have a tool that can help you train effectively. Before we dig into the science of HRV, let's first look at the benefits of HRV for you as a triathlete. The questions you can ask is, how do you know if your body has adequately recovered from that hard training session yesterday? And how do you know when you have to dial back your training a little bit or push a little bit harder in that next training session? HRV readings can help you make an informed decision regarding this. Instead of just following your training program blindly, doing exactly what it states every day, HRV can help you train effectively so you can get the best benefits of your training program, to recover adequately, and also know when to back down a little bit on training and when to push a little bit harder and when to take a complete rest day. An important thing to note here is that you should not look at your daily HRV reading in isolation. It should be used in combination with other readings as well. You should also look at your sleep quality as well as quantity, your muscle soreness as well as your rehydration. And you should also take into account your 7-day rolling average, but a little bit more on that later on. A lot of studies has recently been done on HRV as well as the benefits thereof. Dan Plues, who did his PhD on HRV and also wrote a couple of articles on the topic, found that you can increase your output by up to 7% if you implement the principles of HRV correctly. And we as triathletes would always be looking at ways to become a little bit faster and a little bit better. So let's dig into the science of HRV. So before we start, I first want to explain two terms that I'll be using a lot. The first one would be your sympathetic, that will be your flight or fight response, and the other term would be your parasympathetic, which means your rest and digest. It's actually much more complicated than that, but that's an easy way that you can remember the difference between the two terms. So let's dig in. By performing a training session, it will give your body a stressful stimulus, and after the immediate fatigue, the body responds by adapting during recovery so that it can cope with a higher training load in the next training session. Training, especially a high intensity interval training or HIIT, is very stressful on the body, but it's also deliberately so, as it provides a powerful stimulus for adaptation. The stress state of the body can persist for a couple of hours up to a couple of days, depending on how hard the training session was. Most sports watchers will also give you this metric. After your training session, it will tell you how many hours or days you need to recover before your next training session, and that's exactly what's referred to here. The rate of your recovery is also dependent on a couple of factors, such as your sleep quality, your diet, as well as the level of training that the athlete is accustomed to. While the body is stressed, the sympathetic fight or flight branch of the nervous system is more active. Performance is gradually restored during recovery, with the parasympathetic rest or digest activity rising to a level above where it started. Stress can also come from multiple sources. It can be physical stress due to your hard training load or intensity, or it can come from chemical sources such as poor nutrition and too much alcohol. But stress can also come from mental sources such as your work or relationships. So if the total quality of stress gets too high, combined with little or ineffective recovery, the downward spiral towards overtraining starts. So overtraining is not just when you train too much, but it takes a global look at your mental as well as your physical health. So your training load might be light, but if there's a lot of other stresses in your surroundings or in your body, you might also be perceived as overtrained. There are also various ways to assess your recovery, including subjective measurements of fatigue and muscle soreness, as well as the exertion test can be used where you measure your jump height. Resting heart rate is tracked by a lot of people, but the problem with resting heart rate is that it's an imprecise mix of influences and it's not very sensitive. So by the time that your heart rate has risen 3 to 5 beats, it's already too late to back down on your training. But it's also not as simple as a higher HRV is better and a lower HRV is bad. Your age and your gender would also influence these readings, as the older you'll get, the lower your HRV reading would be. And there's also a higher reading for males and a lower reading for females. This graph will just give you a guideline on how these readings can look per gender as well as between different age categories. So don't use this as the ultimate, just see it as a guideline that you can use when taking a look at your HRV reading when compared to people with the same age and gender as yourself. Higher HRV readings in general are linked to good health and fitness, whereas decreased HRV readings are linked with stress, fatigue, and burnout. So now you might ask, how do I incorporate that into my daily training? Dan Plues suggests that we should rather take our HRV readings and incorporate that into our training blocks. So when our HRV readings increases, that will just mean that we have a harder training block. And then when the HRV decreases, that will usually be when we have a recovery week or taper before a race. High HRV readings doesn't mean that you'll perform at your best, it just means that your stress load is very high. But it should come down a little bit if you want to perform at your best for that next race, as that will mean that you're well rested before the race starts. A more accurate way to look at your HRV would be to look at your 7-day rolling average, and if your daily HRV reading drops below that number, you should either take a day easy or take a day off. And you also want your HRV to increase daily, as that tells your body that you can handle the training, to make adaptations and become a better and faster triathlete. So now let's look at the practicality thereof when we use our phone. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is go to your app Play Store and then go and look for Elite HRV. When you found Elite HRV, you can download the Elite HRV app this is the app that you'll use for your daily HRV readings. So when you go to the app will open and you can input your personal details under your profile. Once you've completed that, you're one step closer to taking your HRV readings. So after you've completed all your personal details, you are ready to connect your HR monitor. So for that, you must decide whether you're using the Core Sense finger sensor or whether you're using your heart rate strap. So once you've linked your HR strap, you can go to your home page, and this will just give you some information on HRV readings, the importance thereof, as well as how you can use the measurements. So you guys are more than welcome to go and take a look at some of these articles. The ones that we are going to be focused on today would be your trends, your insights, and your log. And so once you're ready to take your HRV readings, it will give you something like this, and then you will have a morning readiness. I've already taken mine, so I don't want to retake it. Once you've taken your reading, it will give you something like this. So you'll have your sympathetic or your parasympathetic. So once again, if it's red in this app, it means take a complete day off. Orange will mean that you need to take it easy, and green means that you should be able to train hard and handle more stress today. But how will your readings look? It will show you two different readings. It will show you your RR intervals, your HRV, as well as your heart rate. So all three of these readings are taken into account when doing this measurement, and it will also tell you how accurate the signal was, and then last it will tell you your minimum and maximum heart rate. After that, it will ask you to input your mood, so whether you're angry, unhappy, or sad. You can also put that in, as well as the position you took your reading from, and then if there's additional notes that you want to add. So once you've taken your reading, you can save the daily reading, and then let's quickly look at the readings that I have did over the couple of weeks. So with this app, you do not need to have an extra Excel sheet where you input your daily HRV and then calculate the 7-day rolling average. This app does it for you automatically. So if you go back to your home page, it will show you your weekly average. My HRV weekly average is 66, my readiness is 8, and then my heart rate average for the last week is 51. And it will also show me underneath the picture my current HRV for that current day. So this will give you an indication whether you are ready or not for your next training session. So for instance, if my HRV reading for that particular day would go below the average HRV for the week, which is 66, if it's on yellow, I need to take it easy, and if it's on red, I need to take a day off, as this app already takes into account your 7-day weekly average. If you want to look at your readings individual, you can just go to trends, and then it will show you how your readings looks for 2 months, a month, or 3 months, or a year. And it will also give you your readings as a number out of 10. It will give you your HRV as well as your coefficient of variation. And then you can also input your energy level, soreness, as well as your weight and blood glucose. Elite HRV is very handy as it shows you your weekly averages, and you don't need to calculate that separately. Thank you guys for watching this long scientific video regarding HRV training. I hope these tips and insight have helped you guys understanding HRV a little bit better, as well as how to incorporate it into your training sessions to make you a better and faster triathlete. So if you like the content of this channel, please go and like and subscribe to my YouTube channel up here. Also go and join my Facebook as well as Instagram groups on TriathlontesSA, and go and check out the website at www.triathlontesSA.com. So keep up the training, and I'll see you guys soon.